After 50, the morning window matters more than most people realize. What you put into your body in the first 30 minutes, before food, before coffee, before the day starts pulling at you, that window is when your gut, your liver, your blood vessels are most receptive, and most of us are spending it on the wrong things, or nothing at all. I spent 20 years as a registered nurse. I watched what happened to people who ignored their mornings for decades. It catches up. These 11 drinks won't reverse that, but the research behind some of them, and I'll show you the sources, is harder to ignore than I expected when I first started looking. Number 4 is the one that stopped me. A flower. Costs nothing to grow, and the data on what it does to blood pressure is genuinely worth your attention. 11 drinks. What's in them, what the science says, and exactly how I make each one. Let's go. I want to start with green tea because it's the one people already have in their cupboard and genuinely don't respect enough. This is not about antioxidants in a vague, hand-wavy sense. There's a specific compound in green tea called EGCG. Think of it as a molecular janitor. It goes through your body finding damaged cells and cellular debris and flagging them for cleanup. Your body does this on its own, but after 50, that cleanup crew gets slower. EGCG, according to multiple meta-analyses, seems to give that crew a nudge. Now, there's also something called L-theanine in green tea. It's an amino acid, not an energy booster like caffeine. It's almost the opposite. It tells your brain to be calm and alert at the same time. Like, you know that state you're in when you're doing something you love and you're completely focused, but you're not tense. L-theanine seems to encourage that. Combined with the modest caffeine in green tea, studies suggest the effect is smoother and more sustained than coffee. Less spike, less crash. A 2010 meta-analysis published in Chinese Medicine, I'll tell you the journal names because I want you to be able to look these up yourself, found that consistent green tea consumption was associated with a meaningful reduction in cardiovascular events. Not miraculous, not a cure, but consistent, meaningful, worth your morning. Don't use boiling water. It scorches green tea and turns it bitter. Heat to about 175 degrees Fahrenheit, right when tiny bubbles first appear at the bottom of the pan. Not a rolling boil, just alive. A rounded teaspoon of loose-leaf sencha, right into a speckled cream stoneware mug. Pour the water over slowly. 2 minutes, that's it. Strain into a clean mug. Let it cool 30 seconds. I add a small slice of lemon. Vitamin C appears to improve EGCG absorption. A small thing before you eat anything. That's the window I found works best. Morning, fasted, quiet. Small things, stacked over years, are actually the whole story. Turmeric. I grow it in raised beds. It's stubborn, it stains everything, and it may be one of the more well-researched botanical compounds in the world right now. The active compound is curcumin. Now, here's what curcumin does in plain English. Your body has a kind of inflammation switch, a signaling protein called NFKB if you want to look it up. In chronic low-grade inflammation, which most people over 50 are carrying around without knowing it, that switch gets stuck in the on position. Curcumin appears to help reset it. Not dramatically, not instantly, but consistently over time. Here's the catch most people don't know. Curcumin on its own is almost useless. Your gut barely absorbs it. But add black pepper, even a small pinch, and a 2017 review in the journal Foods indicates bioavailability increases by something close to 2,000%. 2,000 from a pinch of pepper. I find that almost funny, honestly. Such a small thing. Add fat, whole milk, coconut milk, even a teaspoon of good olive oil, and you get another absorption boost. The creator, it seems, built this spice with specific companions in mind. 8 ounces of whole milk in my copper saucepan over low heat, not boiling, just steaming. Coconut milk works well too. The fat is what drives the absorption. Into a speckled cream stoneware mug, half a teaspoon of turmeric, quarter teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 firm crack of black pepper. That pepper is non-negotiable. Pour the hot milk over and stir with a wooden spoon until everything blooms into that deep amber color. Sometimes I add a slice of fresh ginger, too. Ginger has been in every traditional medicine system I've ever looked at: Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, the old European herbalist, traditional African medicine. That kind of agreement across completely separate cultures is something I was taught to pay attention to as a nurse. When everyone arrives at the same answer independently, you ask why. The active compounds are called gingerols and shogols. They form when you heat or dry the root. What they do, in simple terms, is calm the internal irritation in your digestive tract and in your joints. Think of chronic low-grade inflammation like a slow ember that never quite goes out. These compounds help quiet it. A 2014 study in the International Journal of Food Sciences and Nutrition looked specifically at fasting blood glucose in ginger, and the findings were worth noting. Now, I'm not saying ginger manages blood sugar. I'm saying the preliminary data is interesting enough that if you're over 50 and you aren't drinking ginger tea, you might want to start paying attention. 4 or 5 thin slices, about the width of a coin. Fresh is better than dried. The gingerols are more active. I leave the skin on. Nothing wrong with the skin. Slices into my copper saucepan with 10 ounces of cold water. Gentle simmer, not a hard boil, for 10 minutes. The water turns warm, amber. The kitchen smells sharp and bright. Strain into a mug. Squeeze half a lemon in. Add a small pour of raw honey. Start to finish. This takes 12 minutes. If you tell me you don't have that time, I'll respectfully disagree. This is the one I mentioned, blood pressure, hibiscus sabdarifa, dried calices of the hibiscus flower, the same thing used across West Africa, Mexico, and Southeast Asia for centuries under different names. What those traditions were observing before anyone had a stethoscope, the research has now started to explain. The flavonoids in hibiscus, particularly anthocyanins, the same pigments that make it that deep ruby color, appear to work on the lining of your blood vessels. Not in a vague way. They seem to gently relax the walls, the same mechanism that a whole class of blood pressure medications targets. The research on this is more robust than most people realize. A 2015 meta-analysis in the Journal of Hypertension found an average systolic blood pressure reduction of around 7 millimeters of mercury. That's not nothing. That's clinically relevant. Hibiscus also contains vitamin C, fresh calices especially, along with a good range of organic acids. I grow it in pots on the south side of my house, and I harvest the calices in late summer and dry them myself. But you can find the dried version in most grocery stores. Look for it in the bulk section or the Latin foods aisle. It's often labeled Jamaica. A tablespoon of dried hibiscus calices, heaped, not level, right into the mug. 8 ounces of just boiled water over the petals, 5 minutes. Watch it turn deep red purple. That color is the anthocyanins doing exactly what you want them to. Strain, add a little honey if you need it. I drink mine plain. Genuinely tart. After a week, you stop noticing. Something grounding about a cup that red, that ancient. A blessing from the garden. My grandmother drank bone broth every morning without knowing anything about collagen peptides. She just called it good sense. Turns out she was right in ways that took science another 100 years to confirm. After 50, your body starts producing collagen, the structural protein in your joints, skin, and gut lining, at a slower rate. Think of collagen like the scaffolding inside a building. When it starts breaking down faster than you rebuild it, things get loose, creaky, uncomfortable. Bone broth, specifically the collagen peptides and a compound called glycine it delivers, gives your body the raw material to rebuild that scaffolding. There's also the glycine-sleep connection, which I find fascinating. Glycine is an amino acid in broth. A 2012 study in sleep and biological rhythms found that glycine supplementation improved subjective sleep quality and reduced daytime fatigue. For a morning drink. You might be wondering how a morning drink helps sleep. It doesn't work immediately. It works over time. It's building material, not a sleeping pill. Chicken or beef bones, roasted first at 400 degrees Fahrenheit until golden brown. That step matters. It deepens the flavor and changes the mineral structure. Bones into my copper stock pot with cold water, a rough-cut onion, and a few garlic cloves. Add a splash of apple cider vinegar, the old herbalist's trick, meant to help draw minerals from the bone. 12 to 24 hours on the lowest heat you have. I do mine overnight. The longer it goes, the deeper the color, and the more it gels when cold. When cold, it should gel. That tells you the collagen is there. No gel, the bones were old, or the simmer too short. A mug of broth from the refrigerator batch, heated in the saucepan. Pinch of sea salt, crack a black pepper, sometimes a sprig of fresh thyme. That's it. Sip it before breakfast. I'm going to be straightforward with you here, because I think there has been an unfortunate amount of overclaiming around lemon water. It is not a detox. It doesn't flush your liver. Your liver doesn't need flushing. If it did, you'd need a hospital, not a citrus fruit. What warm lemon water actually does, and does well, is simpler. It's hydration first. Your body wakes up in a mild state of dehydration after 6 to 8 hours without fluid. Starting with something warm is a gentler way to ease in, and for many people, the warmth itself is part of what makes it a real morning ritual, rather than just another glass of water. That's number one. Number two is citrate. Lemons are high in citric acid, and the citrate that forms in your urine after drinking lemon water has a documented effect on kidney stone formation, specifically calcium oxalate stones, which are the most common kind. A 2007 study in the Journal of Enderology found that lemon juice therapy significantly reduced kidney stone recurrence. If you've ever had a kidney stone, you know exactly why that matters. If you haven't, well, you don't want to find out firsthand. 8 to 10 ounces, around 120 degrees Fahrenheit, comfortable to sip immediately. Not boiling, that degrades some of the vitamin C. Half a lemon, freshly squeezed through a small glass juicer. Bottled juice will work, but fresh has more citrate. Strain the seeds out. Pour the juice in, stir once, drink before anything else. Then wait 30 minutes before brushing your teeth. The citric acid softens enamel briefly. Small detail, important one. Tart cherry juice is the one that surprises people. Not sweet cherry, tart cherry. Montmorency variety specifically. Different fruit, different compound profile, completely different effect. The compound that matters most here is melatonin, your sleep-regulating hormone. Tart cherries contain naturally occurring melatonin. Now, drinking tart cherry juice in the morning might seem backwards if you're thinking about sleep. Here's the thing, though. The study that showed the strongest sleep results had participants drinking it twice daily, morning and evening. I include it in the morning routine because consistency is easier when it's part of a fixed habit. If you want the full protocol, add a second small glass before bed. A 2012 study in the European Journal of Nutrition looked specifically at older adults drinking tart cherry juice and found statistically significant improvements in sleep duration and efficiency. That study is one I return to often when people tell me they've tried everything for sleep. Have you tried this? It's a cherry. Grow on trees. The creator put the answer in the orchard. 100% Montmorency tart cherry juice. Unsweetened. Read the label. Most commercial cherry juices are sweet cherry blends with added sugar. Not the same thing. 4 to 8 ounces into a mug. Too intense? Dilute with equal water. The study used twice daily dosing, morning and evening. Add a second small glass before bed if you want the full protocol. The study that showed sleep improvement ran for 7 days straight. This is a daily practice, not a quick fix. I've grown the trees myself for years now. They earn their place every harvest. Every spring, the people in this part of Oregon spend money on herbicides to kill what is arguably one of the most nutritionally dense plants on the property. The root, roasted and ground, makes a drink that looks and tastes remarkably like coffee. No caffeine. And it's doing something in your gut while you drink it that regular coffee absolutely is not. The root is packed with a fiber called inulin. Inulin is what scientists call a prebiotic, meaning it feeds the beneficial bacteria in your gut rather than feeding you directly. Think of it as fertilizer for your gut garden. Your bacteria eat the inulin. They grow. They produce compounds that reduce internal inflammation and support your immune system. This is the kind of feedback loop that the creator seems very fond of. Good things feeding other good things. A heaped tablespoon of roasted dandelion root granules per 8 ounces of water. Into my copper saucepan, 5 minutes at a gentle simmer. Some people use a French press. Either works. Strain through a fine mesh strainer. It comes out deep brown, nearly indistinguishable from a light Americano. I add a splash of whole milk and nothing else. Earthy, slightly bitter, satisfying. It grows in your lawn, as long as it hasn't been sprayed with anything. A weed, an extraordinary one. I never get tired of saying that. I want to be careful with this one because apple cider vinegar has been so aggressively marketed that the real quiet science behind it tends to get lost in the noise. The active compound is acetic acid. What it appears to do, based on a study published in Medscape General Medicine in 2006, is slow gastric emptying. Translation: it slows down how quickly food leaves your stomach and enters your small intestine. When food moves more slowly through that transition, the sugar from your meal gets absorbed more gradually. Less of a blood sugar spike, steadier energy. The effect is real, it's documented, and it's not dramatic. But for people over 50, managing their energy levels and metabolic health, not dramatic still means meaningful. What you need to know: always dilute. Always 1 to 2 teaspoons in 8 ounces of water. Straight apple cider vinegar is too acidic for your tooth enamel and your esophagus. I've seen people damage their throat drinking it undiluted. This is one of those cases where more is genuinely worse. 1 teaspoon if you're new to it, 2 teaspoons maximum. That's the dose. Not a tablespoon, not a glug. Into 8 ounces of room temperature water. Use raw, unfiltered. You'll see the mother clouding at the bottom. That murky sediment tells you the product is unprocessed. Straight vinegar damages your enamel and your throat. Always dilute. Drink it 10 to 15 minutes before your first meal. Use a straw to limit contact with enamel. Rinse your mouth with plain water after. These precautions matter with an acid. This one is the hidden gem. Most people have never heard of it. Oat straw tea is made not from the oats you eat, but from the green, unripe stems of the oat plant, Avena sativa, harvested before the grain matures. A 2020 study in the journal Nutrients, a peer-reviewed publication out of MDPI, looked at acute cognitive and mood effects in older adults after consuming oat herb extract. The findings suggested improvements in cognitive performance and a reduction in anxiety-type feelings within hours of consumption. Now, that's a single study. I always say that. But it joins a long tradition of herbalists using oat straw as what they called a nervine, a calming tonic for the nervous system. The science is starting to catch up with the intuition. The straw also contains silica, iron, and magnesium, minerals that become more relevant as we age and our absorption shifts. That's separate from what's in the grain. The stem and the oat are different things, and both have something to offer. A heaped tablespoon of dried oat straw, 8 ounces of just off the boil water, 10 minutes minimum. Oat straw needs longer than most herbs. It's releasing from stem fiber, and that takes time. Mild, slightly grassy, a drizzle of raw honey pairs naturally. Some mornings I add a pinch of dried chamomile. The combination is the calmest thing I put in my body before 9. On days when the fog sits heavy on the furs and my joints are protesting the weather, this cup does something that's hard to explain and easy to feel. Cinnamon, the last on the list and the one I want to spend a moment on, because there's something important you need to know before you go buying it. There are 2 main types of cinnamon in commerce. Cassia cinnamon, the common kind, what most store brand cinnamon is, and Ceylon cinnamon, sometimes called true cinnamon, which comes from Cinnamomum verum. They look similar. The taste is slightly different, but there's a compound in cassia called coumarin that, in high daily doses, can be hard on the liver. Ceylon has far less of it, almost negligible. For an occasional sprinkle on your oatmeal, cassia is fine. For a daily morning tea, every single day, use Ceylon. I want to be clear about that. The active compounds in cinnamon, cinnamaldehyde and a group called procyanidins, appear to help regulate blood sugar by acting as what researchers describe as insulin mimetics. They nudge your cells to accept glucose more readily, similar to how insulin does it. Now, I want to be honest with you here. The 2003 study in diabetes care that generated most of the excitement around cinnamon and blood sugar. That study used cassia cinnamon, not Ceylon. The active compounds are similar, and researchers believe the mechanism carries across, but the direct clinical evidence for Ceylon specifically is thinner. What is clear is that cassia contains far higher levels of coumarin, which can be hard on the liver at daily doses. So for a morning tea you're drinking every single day, Ceylon is the responsible choice. The safety case alone makes it worth the switch. 1 Ceylon cinnamon stick into my copper saucepan with 8 ounces of cold water. Ceylon, not cassia. The label matters here. I said why in the section above. Bring to a gentle simmer, 5 to 7 minutes. The kitchen fills with that sharp, warm smell, cinnamaldehyde, the same compound doing the work inside your body. Strain into your mug. Naturally sweet warm, barely needs anything. Sometimes a small pour of oat milk. The one I make last. After the broth, after the lemon water. The ancient world agreed on this route. Chinese, Ayurvedic, Middle Eastern, were always last to return to what was already known. 11 drinks. Some of them take 30 seconds. Some take 20 minutes. Some of them cost nothing if you have the plants. All of them are backed by research that took longer than you'd expect to find its way into everyday conversation. And that's a shame, because this information belongs to everyone. I didn't start every morning like this. For most of my nursing years, I survived on coffee and whatever I could find in the break room. The shift from working in crisis medicine to working with the land. That's a long story, and it didn't happen in a week. But the morning routine came first. It was the first thing I chose deliberately, and everything else followed from there. Now, I want to hear from you. I have a specific question for the comments, and I'd love a genuine answer. Have any of you tried rotating through different morning drinks? Different ones on different days rather than the same thing daily? And noticed a difference in how you feel? There's some interesting thinking in the research about variety and gut microbiome diversity that I'd like to dig into in a future video, and your experiences would genuinely help me decide whether to go there. If this was useful to you, please subscribe. Not for numbers, I don't much care about numbers, but because if you're here, you're the kind of person who thinks about what they put into their body, and that's exactly the kind of conversation I'm trying to have more of. I'll see you in the next one. God bless you, and may the Lord keep you in good health. It is, after all, the most practical blessing there is.